Well, we have come out today to a very wet and drizzly lake district, but the light being overcast is fantastic, and the colours at this time of year are just something else. They're glowing. I'm glad to say I brought a colour camera with me as well. Now I'm drawn to the arrangement over here with there's some slate, beautiful trees, and these vibrant mosses, beautiful yellowy green mosses, and the early growth on these trees. It's fantastic. It's just a case of trying to distill some of this into a meaningful composition before I get the camera out the bag. Now there is a huge amount of faffing around required to set up a camera like this, or any camera to be honest. With this umbrella it looks quite straightforward now, but it's taken me about 15 minutes to line everything up and get the brolly in the right position to keep the rain off the lens, and it means I'm having to work very slowly. It may well be a digital camera, but that makes zero difference to me. I will be taking the one shot from this location and moving on. So I want to get it right, so the time spent getting myself comfortable so the rain doesn't encumber me is well worth it in my opinion. I've gone for a vertical composition, bringing the silver birch into the frame on the left, and I have this little pathway winding its way through. I'm shooting around about standard focal length with my zoom lens, and exposure, what's that, half a second f11? Yeah, pretty nice, good start. Certainly got a lot of colours and a lot of interesting shapes and forms in there. Should make a good intro to the day, I think, and certainly a colour shot. I've also got a polarising filter on here, which obviously robs me of a couple of stops. But in this weather it does make a difference. The saturation is increased and it's perfect for these dull overcast days.
Now I think this was very much a case of getting warmed up for the day. I don't particularly like this composition, I'll be honest. I do think it would have worked better as a square composition, taking in the bottom part of the scene and largely ignoring that foliage, which isn't doing much for me. I think I need to focus more on the rocks and the warmth in the lower part of the image.
Now, having set up the camera so meticulously, I am not going to waste the time and effort I did getting all that in position without going to shoot some of these other amazing scenes around here. It's the reason I just walked up here, is because this was the scene I initially saw, but there's also some beautiful trees, a little gully through there. I'm going to work my way into that. So I'm just going to lift the equipment up in situ, the whole thing, and cart it over there. Yeah, so this is the sort of material I'm talking about. Not actually perfect when I get up close here. A little bit jumbled. I could do with being yeah, higher up. Fortunately you can't do that in real life unless you're 12 feet tall. Oh, but I know though, that does look nice. It's actually time for a recce. So leave the GoPro, leave you, and leave the camera here, and set off with the little iPhone and the preview app and scout out some shots. See you in a minute. Okay, I have found something after about half an hour previewing getting soaked. Now, to make sure I know exactly where to place my camera based on my previewing, I've made a little cross, very natural biodegradable cross. So that's where I'm going to set my camera up, and the shot I'm going to be making, apologies for the rain, is beautiful bush here in full growth. Tree on the side, maybe not, but yes, dead bracken. Mosses. Look at the backdrop as well with all this slate. This is absolutely fantastic, and it is another colour shot. Now you can obviously tell that this isn't the ideal setup, having to lug around a camera with a brolly attached, but it does mean I can work largely unencumbered by the rain once I get set up. And sure, I could rely on the stabilised zoom and high ISOs and shoot it handheld, but I don't want to do that. You may as well use AI and just let the thing do it for you. I'm all about composing the shot carefully. I'm treating it like film. Each frame to me is important. Everything I take today is going to be a one-off, and if that's not right, it's not right. So be it. I think it's just my mindset. I don't want to rush. Now, similarly to the first shot, I have used the polarizer. Now, the polarizer doesn't have a huge effect on this shot, and indeed I had to hold it to my actual eye to see it clearly, because even the viewfinder, which is an optical viewfinder, or the LCD didn't really show it that clearly, but it's there. Not worried about the extra 2 stops. I have got it on a tripod. Everything is carefully composed. I am shooting it as if I'm shooting medium format film, and every frame costs. I have taken just the 1 frame, no bracketing. It's very carefully composed. I'm shooting around about 55mm, and I absolutely do love this shot. It's exactly what I came for today. Robin and I actually made a conscious decision to come up to the Lake District today because of the rain, not despite the rain. A, there's nobody here. B, the colours are just to die for.
Well, rather similar to the first image, I'm not over enamoured with the top of the frame. I think it may have been better for me to focus on the lower part and probably getting closer, but the colours are superb, and yeah, you can't deny that foliage is glowing, beautiful and light, and it stands out against the rock face at the back, so I think it's improving definitely.
Now, with a couple of images in the bag already, I mean, I could literally spend all day within 50 feet of here and not get bored of shooting, but we have so much more material available. There are views over here across Derwentwater, the lake, which are fantastic, and the trees have got that beautiful light green foliage on them. It is going to turn out, I think, to be one of my better trips. But back to the shoot itself. As of now, I need to break out the preview device again, walk around, do the same as before, leave the camera set up and scout for interesting compositions and work out focal lengths, etc., before decanting the equipment and setting up. Yeah, I've got to be careful here. I've got a robin shooting across here, so he's not going to appreciate me walking across here into his frame, is he? So it would do no harm whatsoever for me to have a little wanderette into this little, well, I wouldn't say it's a quarry, but you know, this little area here past the beautiful tree I've been shooting, and have a look around all the mosses and the lichens. I do like that wall up there, but I ain't going up there because I'll end up doing that all the way down there in about half a second, and that'll be the end of the day, and possibly me. Now, as lovely as the scene is behind me down to Derwentwater, it's not really the sort of thing I want to photograph. It's a little bit open. I need something to, I don't know, make it stand out. It's just a long shot. Love the clouds, love being here. May just take half an hour to soak it all in. Maybe I need to be back over this area here though, where there's some lovely trees. I know you can get a foreground shot shooting through them. And if the cloud starts to lift over the mountains, that would be a bonus. Well, for this long shot of King's Crag, I have set up without a polarizer, shooting around about 35mm. The key thing here is this gorse in the foreground. It's bright yellow, it's a colour shot obviously. And I'm going to crop it to square. Now, my camera doesn't let me view in square, but my little preview device does, so I've left space at the top and the bottom of the vertical composition, which will be cropped out. Very nice in that proportion. It allows the gorse to flow through the frame. Little tree at the top right, mountain in the background. It's all very, very nicely balanced within that square 1:1 format. Now, one thing I've struggled with for many years, and indeed I've documented on a number of vlogs, is my inability or my difficulty with shooting black and white and colour on the same day. Well, after about 3 years of predominantly or almost exclusively shooting black and white film at that, I do think I've reached the point where I've come up with a happy compromise. I'm not going to go into it now in this video, but there are reasons why I'm now able to shoot colour and black and white without it throwing me out, and I think it's going to be all the better for it, to be honest.
Well, I have no objections to the composition here. I think I should have waited though to get some more light in the background. I think the problem is it wasn't separated sufficiently. The gorse is magnificent, obviously, the bright yellows there, and I like the way the trees are maintained within the mountain line. But yeah, I'm being fussy, but I could do better.
Now, I was hoping to get a shot of the lake, and I'll just hoist you up in a minute so you can see it, but the rain has closed in, so I think I'll have to wait for it to clear a little. Right, up you go. Just going to have a quick look from a crag up here to see if it's worth me relocating. And you probably have noticed I may have put 1 or 2 more shots up from that location just because I was set up and the light did change, so I took the opportunity to take a couple more frames. Anyway, let's have a quick jog up here. See what we can see. Oh my god, look at that. Probably nicer to the naked eye than to the camera. And look at that there as well. Now we've sat out on the top of the hill for an hour or so having lunch, but I think it's time now to try something different. And as the light is improving massively in this direction, I'm going to work around here into these trees, boulders, mosses, etc. I just feel there's a lot more potential now. It's really clearing over there, and in the last couple of minutes it's lit up tremendously, and if we get some light coming through, it'd just be unbelievable. Now this is another shot which I'm going to crop to square. I couldn't reconcile it in either horizontal or vertical. As soon as I flipped it into square mode on the preview device, it just looked right. So I've left space on the left and the right hand side to allow them to crop in. Zoomed in the rest of the way, it's about 33mm, so very gentle wide angle. And the stars of the show for me are this rock and these 2 trees. I'm not going for the old foreground rock cliche as such. I would have been further down had I done that. Now there is a danger of this being rather cliched with a rock in the foreground. However, it's quite a small element. It's not dominating. If I was right down here with a super wide angle, yes, it would be just a little bit of a cliche, but I like it there and I'm going to shoot it there. So I've got the 2 trees, I've got the Castle Crag in the background. I've only got a little bit of sky coming in here. I don't want too much sky. It's all about the colours in the foreground, and that's just sort of acting as a nice backdrop. So we'll see how it turns out. Now the only problem at the moment is the light has dipped a little bit. Now I've taken the safety shot. You know, the safety shot is the one you take immediately just in case conditions get worse. You hope to get better, but if it was to turn really wet and cloudy, I wouldn't have any shots. So I have taken one. It's started to rain a little bit and it's clouding over, but if it just brighten up slightly, I will take another shot before moving on. Yeah, so this whole business of black and white and colour, which I've struggled with massively in the past, and certainly not being able to do it successfully. Well, I think part of the problem was that I was always trying to replicate shots in colour and black and white. So I'd set up, typically with a Bronica, and I would shoot the scene in front of me, and I'd go, oh, it may work in black and white, or it may work in colour. It's only a case of changing the back. It's very little investment in time, and in those days, very little cost with film. But the problem is, number one, they kept discontinuing all my favourite films. As soon as I found myself like falling in love with Fuji 400H, they stopped producing it that day, and I thought to myself, this is a bit of a non-starter long term. And the other thing as well is I would come back with images in black and white and colour and struggle to decide which were the best. Now over the past 3 years I have shot just about everything in black and white, predominantly film, but I think I've now got my head round where and when to use the different mediums, and it's taken me that long. I'm a bit of a slow learner. I won't be shooting the same things. Some images are colour images and some are black and white, and I will only shoot them if they suit that particular medium. It's been nearly all colour today and it's likely to remain that way. However, it may open into a black and white day if I get a bit more contrast or I get some strong lighting. At the moment the subtlety is just favouring colour.
Well, again, I do think the square format suits this image, and I prefer it to the last one. There's much better lighting in the background on the mountains, and there is a clear foreground with some better separation. Some of those light mosses there. The trees are very, very nice with their early foliage. So yeah, definitely improving here.
Now the other reason I've wanted to shoot more colour lately is that I've gone through a huge exercise in the past 6 months or so of ridding myself of all my weaker images. And I say weaker images, I mean the completely hopeless dross that we all have clustering up our Lightroom catalogue. Now I have a Lightroom catalogue even though I shoot a lot of film, because I scan those images or I digitize them, and I have a lot of rubbish film scans in my catalogue. So I've now got it down to approximately 5,000 images. Now that doesn't sound like a small number, but subsequently I've gone through and I have categorized them from 1 to 5 stars, and I only have 150 what I class 5-star images. Now in reality I've probably only got a dozen really good images in my life, like most of us. But what I've noticed is I like a lot of the colour images in there, particularly the work I did a few years ago, and I want to replicate that. I want to build on that, so colour has come back into the frame, so to speak, but I'm treating it very much more carefully and cautiously than in the past. And even if I'm shooting digital, I'm taking very few frames, even on Micro Four Thirds. I want to make everyone count. I do not want to go through that whole editing process again, because like I say, it took me months, and yeah, the more pictures you take on a day out just gives you more work when you get back, and in your heart of hearts you know most of them are rubbish anyway.
Well, sadly the weather conditions did deteriorate quite quickly after that, and I didn't actually get any more images from the day. However, I did find it a very useful exercise, and I am glad I shot colour. When I previewed in black and white, it was very flat, there was no real separation, and I would have struggled to make anything of it. But getting back to that core point about utilising black and white and colour alongside each other, I think on the day I did make the right decision not to shoot black and white, and I had a black and white film camera with me. But there will be situations in the future where I do see opportunities for both, and it's how I manage that. It's how I take the equipment with me to shoot both, and it's how I combine those potentially in different videos, or maybe in different portfolios, or maybe a certain subject matter like close-ups and detail shots are in colour, the big views are landscapes, etc. But I certainly won't be replicating, and I certainly won't be doing those shots where you go, do you prefer it in colour or black and white? I need to make that decision and present that to you. It's my decision as a photographer to say which one works best in which medium. So, a useful trip, and I do hope you enjoyed the rather soggy video, and apologies for the rather soggy audio and a wet microphone. But anyway, I will see you on the next trip hopefully, and thank you for watching as ever.